Hey guys, what's up? Loco here. Some big news dropped yesterday, or 2 days before, depending on when you're watching this. Bjergsen is retiring and he's going to be the new head coach for TSM. And there's a lot to discuss here. Why is he retiring? Who's going to be the new mid? How is he going to be as head coach? And yeah, let's dissect all that. And we did get a little bit of clues on what's going to happen with the TSM roster in terms of the other roles. So yeah, let's talk about the overall future of TSM. Let's hit it. So the first thing we need to talk about is Bjergsen retiring. I think Bjergsen is retiring way too early. He's just 24, which might seem ancient in terms of esports, but he's someone that's very still capable of playing. I think when we look at Bjergsen as a player and his current skill level, probably not comparable to the best mid laners in the world, but in terms of North America, he is still one of the best, if not the best mid laner in North America. I mean, he won the season just last split. And he was like an MVP level candidate. I think it's crazy to think about someone like Bjergsen retiring at his prime. When we really get into the reason, of course, whatever reason he gave in his video is not going to be a real thing. My theory on Bjergsen retiring has to do so much with burnout. He's been playing for such a long period of time, and he's an incredibly dedicated player. The way he plays and the way he just lives his life is centered around League. A lot of players like to have a well-balanced lifestyle, which I think is very healthy and which I think is kind of should be the norm. To be incredibly good at League of Legends, you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to have shitty work-life balance. You just have to be obsessed about League of Legends. You wake up thinking about League of Legends, you go to sleep thinking about League of Legends. This is kind of like how most Eastern players are, like the Chinese players, the Korean players. They live and breathe League of Legends, and they're competing with a lot of the players that are doing kind of the same. As for North America, yeah, we just aren't like that. Our players aren't like that. Our culture isn't like that. So to be a person that's going to be that fully dedicated when people around you aren't putting in that kind of work and definitely aren't as dedicated as you, it's going to be really hard. And Bjergsen did that for 5+ years. He is crazy. Now, here's the thing. If you're putting in that kind of work and you're not getting the results to show it, it's going to grind you down slowly. And I think that's kind of what happened to Bjergsen. In North America, there's definitely been years where he's putting in insane amount of effort and doing everything possible to carry the team, and it just wasn't giving him great results. And even when they were winning in North America, every time Bjergsen went to World, he got crushed. I really want you guys to think of Bjergsen during Season 4 and Season 6. He was a world-class mid laner. I know a lot of people are going to meme on me, but genuinely, the way Bjergsen played was level that was matchable to world-class mid laners. But here's the thing. The environment he was in didn't really allow him to grow as much. As an example, let's go all the way back to Season 4 Worlds. I think this is a clear example of Bjergsen kind of being limited by North America and not by the effort and the dedication that he put in. When we were scrimming Samsung White a lot, we got crushed at the start. Pawn and Dandy just smacked Bjergsen upside down. The way they did their wave control, the way their timings were, Bjergsen just had no idea what to do with it. It's because teams in North America never punched us in that way. Teams in North America never pushed us in terms of that. And we started to figure out what they were doing, how they were doing their wave bounces, how they were setting up the ganks. The kind of timings that they had when they picked Rengar, the kind of timings that they had when they had Ori plus a certain jungler. Little by little, we caught up a lot, and especially for Bjergsen, he started to match up against Pawn. He started to match up against the duo of Pawn and Dandy. Of course, it wasn't 1v2, he still had Centaurn, but Centaurn was still a very newish player, and he just was not on that level. Bjergsen grew so much in that 1 month, he learned so much, and he could incorporate so much of what Samsung White was doing to him into his gameplay. I just think if he was in a better environment, he would have been a much better player. But he was pretty much stuck in North America, and I hate to shit on TSM, but TSM management sometimes didn't give him the best players. TSM management sometimes didn't give him the best coaches, and myself included. Sometimes I was immature as a coach, sometimes I just wasn't the best coach, and the coaches after me, not all of them were great either. Bjergsen was just so limited by being on TSM and so limited by the pieces around him. I really don't think he met his full potential. I really wanted to see Bjergsen go to Europe for 1 or 2 years. I think him being in a region where he would have been challenged regionally by the other mid laners, and he would have had world-class teammates that could stand up to the Korean players, the Chinese players, I think it would have fueled his drive even more. Can you imagine Bjergsen competing with someone like Caps or Perks consistently? It would have leveled up his gameplay so much, but he was kind of limited, kind of stuck in North America. He was the biggest fish in a small pond, and eventually other fishes got as big as him. Jensen, Parabibo, Zizuke to a certain extent got better than Bjergsen in these last few years. I don't want to go overboard and say Bjergsen had no fault in any of TSM's failures. He definitely could have been more aggressive as a player, and he had a huge say in TSM, so a lot of the shitty decisions that were being made, he had to okay on, or he maybe pushed for it himself. I mean, Bjergsen pushed for getting Mike Young. So yeah, he's not completely flawless, but I think in a different environment, Bjergsen would have flourished way more as a player. And despite all his numerous accomplishments, I actually think Bjergsen underachieved in terms of what his potential was and what we got out of his career. Now, let's talk about Bjergsen as a coach. I think Bjergsen is going to be an amazing coach. When he was younger, Bjergsen was pretty much like any other player. He was memey, he used Twitter a lot, he had girl drama, he had teammate drama, he had coach drama. But as he got older and as he started growing out his beard, I think he really started to mature as a person, and he started to have a weight. He'd be a lot more careful with his words and how it could affect people around him. He just started to use social media less. He started to be more and more dedicated. He wasn't about partying. He was just so much about his craft, and it really showed. I think Bjergsen was a great example as a player, and he's going to be a great example as a coach. It's much easier to follow your dad and mom when you respect them as people, right? If your dad's a smoker and he tells you not to smoke, it's kind of like the don't do as I do as I say syndrome. And yeah, it just makes it harder to follow your dad when he's doing the thing himself. But Bjergsen's someone that wakes up early, that puts in so much work, that takes care of himself mentally and physically. It's going to be really hard to look at Bjergsen as a player and not listen to him. He is just going to kill it as a coach in that regard. And of course, the game knowledge is going to be incredibly top notch. I mean, he is a player and a person that could still play pro and be top tier in one of the hardest roles in League of Legends. So, I don't know what to say more regarding Bjergsen as a coach. We haven't seen him be a coach for a single day, for a single second, but he is one of those people that I fully trust in and fully believe in to be a great coach. I'm so excited for North America and 3 head coaches going into the future. I think Jad didn't get to do much in his first split. It was just kind of learning. I'm really excited for Reignover. I'm really excited for Bjergsen. At the very least, we're going to have 3 new head coaches that are going to absolutely fucking kill it going into 2021. Now, let's talk about his replacement and who it's going to be. I think it's going to be really hard to fill Bjergsen's shoes, no matter who it is. Bjergsen, the kind of weight he carried on TSM as a player, as a brand ambassador, as a legacy member is going to be impossible. It's straight up, whoever's going to join is not going to be able to live up to the hype or live up to whatever the expectations are going to be. So yeah, it's kind of a poison chalice situation. But I think we can look at 2 major routes of how TSM can try to replace Bjergsen. It's going to be the established veteran route, or it's going to be the new player route. So for an established veteran, there's just no one in North America. Maybe Jensen is like the only one that I can really think of that could replace Bjergsen and be somewhat okay. And even then, it's not about just matching Bjergsen in terms of skill level. It's in terms of being a leader. It's in terms of being a good example. And yeah, just no one in the world can do that right now for Bjergsen. I think the only viable way to get an established veteran and really have him step up to that level is going to be getting someone from Europe. For God knows what reason, let's say Perked suddenly wants to be a mid lane again and G2 wants to stay with Caps. Now that would be a fucking miracle for TSM. Getting Perks in the mid lane, it would have to be at that level for it to even be feasible to be a proper replacement for Bjergsen. And yeah, I don't think any of the big top tier European mid laners are going to want to come over. Now, here's a really weird angle that I thought of. TSM has Lina, TSM has Peter Zhang as management. So those are 2 people that are completely fluent in Mandarin, and that could kind of help a Chinese player come over and get suited in North America. I think LPL is overflowing with top tier talent now. They are one of the best regions in terms of developing new talent along with Korea and Europe. I just want to put that out there. I don't think it's likely, but if we ever see an LPL import come over, I think TSM's one of the best teams in terms of housing an LPL import and making sure he's comfortable and making sure he can be successful in North America. If they are going with an established veteran route, they can really look towards LPL and see what's possible. I think TSM's uniquely positioned to have a Chinese player succeed. And yeah, if I'm on TSM, that's at least a train of thought I would explore. It hurts nothing to just explore the avenue and see what's out there. Now, let's get back to reality. So personally, what I would like to see is a young player step in for Bjergsen. We're going to talk about it more when we talk about the overall future of TSM and what the roster looks like, but I think TSM should press the blow up button on the roster. I think there's just been so much expectation year after year for TSM to succeed. They're always in win now mode, and this would be a great time to hit the button and blow everything up and start fresh. And I think TSM has two players that they could really look at in terms of bringing them up and helping them grow. Cat Evolve and Ford. These are both players in TSM's ecosystem. Cat Evolved is on TSM's academy team. Ford is kind of on TSM Junior, that's their below academy team. You're too young to play LCS, too young to play academy. Bjergsen is a mid laner and he has so much mid lane knowledge. And when you are coaching a position that you played professionally before, you're going to be inherently way better at it than when you coach other positions. At least for me, when I coach anyone in bot lane, be it support, be it AD carry, it was so much easier for me to coach because first of all, my game knowledge regarding that lane was much more comprehensive compared to my jungling knowledge, my top or my mid lane knowledge, so I could help them with the in-game things a lot more. And also, you just understand the kind of relationships you have as that position. I'm sure someone that was a jungler before coaching a jungler is gonna understand the dynamics of, hey, I'm having this problem with my mid laner. Hey, I'm having this problem with my top laner. I think where I started to fall into this theory more was Licorice's retirement. He talked about how Reaper was a top laner, and when he coached him, he learned so much through Reaper. I'm sure a lot of it is because Reaper is a good coach, but a lot of it is still because Reaper was a top laner and he understands top lane and what it means to be a top lane player way more so than any of the other positions. So yeah, I think a young North American talent getting coached by Bjergsen in mid lane is going to be a great way for TSM to start fresh and not have expectations. If you see someone like Sword or Evolved come in, what are the expectations going to be? That he's going to be Bjergsen next year? No, not at all. And if we give TSM a lot of the new pieces to play around with, they can kind of start to shed the weight of the culture that they had and weight of the TSM name, always holding the players down a little bit, you know? You get flamed a little extra hard when you're on TSM. You get flamed a little extra hard because the expectation is you're going to win the split, you're going to go to Worlds, and you're going to do well. I don't even know why that's the expectation anymore. But yeah, that's always the expectation when you're on TSM. And this kind of blowing up of the roster and starting fresh is going to help a lot. It's going to help the new talent not be as scared. The new talent not be as afraid of what's to come if they don't do well. I'm sure there's still going to be some of that. You're replacing Bjergsen, you're still playing for TSM. But I think getting a new talent will help Bjergsen a lot too. Instead of working with a veteran from the get-go, you get to work with a young player. It's just going to be so much easier. I'm not sure if TSM's going to go this route. I actually have no idea on what TSM's going to do with their mid laner, but I would really like to see them invest into a young promising player and really let Bjergsen's first year and really let this new mid laner's first year be a little easier on them. So now here's the fun part. Let's speculate on rest of the roster. Some of it is going to be through rumor, some of it is going to be through what I know, so let's put it all out there. I know Dom said Doublelift won't be staying on Crackdown. He talked about how TSM bot lane is gone 100%, and then Doublelift streamed. And you know Doublelift, he just cannot keep his mouth shut, and he wasn't streaming for the past week because he was so afraid that he would leak Bjergsen's retirement, so he just bothered to not stream at all. Can't leak shit if you're not streaming. So what is my conclusion after watching some of Doublelift's stream and hearing what Dom had to say? I think Doublelift is going to stay. I don't think Dom was wrong. I don't think Dom had bad information. I definitely think there was a world where Doublelift was considering retirement, or at the very least, TSM was seeing what was out there. There's rumors that they talked to Upset, and I'm sure they talked to other AD carries. They wanted to see what was it gonna look like if he were to replace Doublelift, right? So say for example, Upset said, yes, I'm definitely willing to play for TSM. I want to come to North America. Then they have an actual decision to make. Then they know, okay, Doublelift, we're going to replace you with Upset. And that's a definite upgrade in my eyes. And we're going to take it 100%. But in the world where they can't get a better replacement for Doublelift, then why force him to retire? So I'm sure TSM did some exploring. But yeah, after seeing Doublelift's stream and how he talked about things, him saying stuff like, I thought about retiring with him when I first heard.
Oh yeah, that's one thing. Like I was like writing my retirement speech for a few days, and I was thinking about, wow, it's crazy. You know, if me and Soren both retire, how crazy is that going to be for LCS? People will probably stop watching. It's going to be like, I feel like most of the TSM fans, they don't really have super attachment to the players, except for like, you know, it's like Soren, and then I'm on the team, and I'm part of it too. But if we both retire, it's, I don't know, it just feels so huge for the league, I guess. Not that I actually gave a shit. That had absolutely zero factor in me deciding like, no, I'm gonna keep playing.
Yeah, I just don't think Doublelift's gonna retire anymore. Maybe there is a world where he does get replaced, but as of this moment, things can still change. I think Doublelift is going to be the AD carry for TSM going forward into 2021. So the other big rumor on the street is Broken Blade is gone. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be true.
I have heard that Broken Blade is out. Biofrost is probably out. Sorry, I should say Broken Blade is probably out. But I think everyone behind the scenes seems to be operating underneath the idea that Broken Blade and Biofrost will no longer be playing for this team.
Now that Bjergsen is gone, TSM's actually in a really shitty spot when it comes to imports. TSM always had a import level mid laner in Bjergsen that was counted as a North American player, so it was a really big boost for them in terms of building rosters. Now that Bjergsen is gone, that is no longer going to be a thing. If they do get a top tier mid laner, more likely than not, he's going to take up an import slot, and it makes it harder to justify Broken Blade's stay as TSM's top laner. I don't have anything against Broken Blade, but to be completely frank, he wasn't an import level top laner consistently. I know a lot of the Broken Blade fans, TSM fans are going to come at me here. Did you see his Camille? Did you see TSM being one of the few teams that can play strong topside in North America at Summer Split last year? Sure, all of those are kind of true. Broken Blade was a good strong side top laner, but I think there's a lot of caveats to go with that. TSM picked comps and TSM picked for Broken Blade so many of the times. He always had counter pick. They always had globals to help him. They had Jungle Shen, Bjergsen played a lot of TF, Bjergsen with Zillion also. Those are very much topside enabling picks. And Doublelift and Biofrost and Doublelift and Treach really got good at playing weak side bot side. They wouldn't get a lot of resource and they still would be able to not get blown up as much. And yeah, North America overall was just really shitty at playing towards top lane, so Broken Blade had it easy. And I think as an import top laner, the kind of gravity that you need to have and the kind of effect you need to have on the game is someone like Prime Huni. When Huni is on form and Huni's playing at his prime level, something like Immortals Huni, they took over the game just through topside and very consistently and with or without a lot of resource. I just cannot say the same thing for Broken Blade. He is an above average strong side top lane player, but he's not a very good tank player, he's not a very good weak side player, and he isn't an exceptional top laner when he gets all those resources. So I think with Bjergsen gone and the import slot being really heavy on TSM, it makes sense to move on with Broken Blade. I'm sure he could go to a team like Golden Guardians with his friend Closer and still do well there. It's just hard to justify him when TSM shouldn't be in win now mode and when he hasn't shown that much as an import player. So for rest of the team, I'm pretty sure Spica is gonna stay and I'm pretty sure Biofrost is gonna be out, and I have no idea on what they're gonna do in the support position. They might get an import, they might not get an import. I think it's really gonna come down to who they get in mid lane. If they do get a young, talented mid laner to develop, someone like Cadivald or Sword, that's gonna be an NA player and they don't need to worry about import slot as much and they could import in both top and support, but if they do get like a European player or an LPL player, then yeah, support has to be a North American player and they have to think twice on that. Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up before we end this video is because of OPL no longer being a league and because of Australian players not counting as import, Lost from Academy could move up and replace Doublelift. That's something to think about also. So yeah, a lot of speculation, no hard evidence, no hard nothing. We just have to wait and see what happens. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And one last thing, I'm not crazy, I'm just Loco. Bye!
Yeah, let's go. I ain't the first with the curse, with the thirst that I wanna be better, not worse, man it hurts. I'm on this earth with my words and I put them all together, insert, cause I wanna have worth. Working hella hard till they put me in the dirt. Gonna go far, man, listen to my words.